In the heart of West Africa, a storm is rising. A nation once dismissed as weak, poor, and dependent, Burkina Faso is daring to redraw the lines of power. At the center of this storm stands one man, Ibrahim Traoré, the youngest leader in the world, just 36 years old. And now, with a single move, he has shaken Washington. A $2.1 billion trade pivot, a deal that has reoriented Burkina Faso away from America's influence and toward a new global alliance. For the first time in history, this small, landlocked nation is directly challenging the economic grip of the United States. But how did we get here? And what does this mean for Africa, for America, and for the world? Burkina Faso, a land of gold, cotton, and proud traditions, but also of poverty, corruption, and endless foreign exploitation. For decades, this country was trapped in the orbit of France and America. Foreign corporations dug its mines, took its gold, exported its cotton, while millions of Burkinabe lived in hunger. Aid money poured in from the West, but it never freed the nation. It only deepened the chains. The IMF, the World Bank, USAID, they spoke of development, but ordinary citizens saw no change. Instead, foreign military bases grew, foreign advisors ruled, and Burkina Faso remained a pawn on the great chessboard of global power. Then, in September 2022, the unthinkable happened. A young army captain, Ibrahim Traoré, rose in a sudden coup. The world mocked him at first. Too young, they said. Too inexperienced. Just another soldier hungry for power. But Traoré proved them wrong. Within weeks, he spoke words no leader of Burkina Faso had dared. We will no longer kneel before foreign powers. Our wealth will serve our people, not outsiders. Crowds filled the streets of Ouagadougou, waving Burkinabe flags, chanting his name. The youth saw in him not a dictator, but a liberator. Washington noticed. The Pentagon had quietly operated in the region for years, funding counterterrorism, training local forces, and keeping an eye on African resources. But Traoré did not bow to their language of security cooperation. Instead, he began closing doors. French troops ordered out. American influence questioned openly. And then came the move that changed everything, the $2.1 billion trade pivot. What exactly was this pivot? For decades, Burkina Faso's exports, gold, cotton, livestock, flowed westward, often under Western-controlled contracts. But Traoré flipped the script. He signed a sweeping $2.1 billion trade agreement, redirecting major exports away from Western buyers and toward new partners, Russia, China, and regional African allies. Gold deals with Moscow, infrastructure projects with Beijing, energy and agricultural agreements with neighbors like Mali and Niger. This was not just trade. This was defiance. A message to America: we will no longer depend on you. In Washington, alarms rang. How could a nation so small, so poor, dare to break from the orbit of U.S. influence? Intelligence reports flooded the desks of policymakers. Think tanks published urgent memos. Some whispered of sanctions, others of covert destabilization. Because for America, this was about more than Burkina Faso. If Ouagadougou could pivot, so could Bamako, Niamey, Conakry. An entire belt of West Africa could slip away from the dollar, away from U.S. trade, and into the arms of rival powers. And for the first time, the superpower faced a nightmare: the domino effect of African independence. But Traoré was no fool. He knew America would not take this lightly. So he built alliances. A security pact with Mali and Niger, called the Alliance of Sahel States. A trade corridor with Russia and China. And most importantly, an emotional pact with his own people. He went on national television, speaking not like a distant politician, but like a brother, a son, a soldier of the people. Our gold will build schools. Our cotton will clothe our children. Our trade will free us, not enslave us. The crowd roared. For the first time, Burkinabe believed their nation could control its destiny. And so, America faced a choice. Should they crush this pivot, punish Traoré, destabilize Burkina Faso, as they had done to so many leaders before them? Or should they watch, powerless, as a new world order took shape in Africa? Reports leaked that U.S. officials privately warned Traoré. They spoke of risks, of isolation, of terrorist threats if he continued this path. But the young captain did not blink. He had already seen the cost of obedience, and he chose defiance. Burkina Faso's pivot was not an isolated act. It ignited a fire across the Sahel. In Mali, the junta tightened its ties with Moscow. In Niger, after its own coup, American bases came under question. In Guinea, voices rose against Western exploitation of bauxite. Suddenly, the entire region was echoing Traoré's message. Africa must stand tall. Africa must trade on its own terms. And this was the true challenge to America. Not just the loss of a small country's exports, but the loss of an entire region's obedience. 2.1 billion. To America, a small sum. To Wall Street, a rounding error. But to Burkina Faso, it was everything. It was schools built, hospitals stocked, roads paved, and jobs created. It was a symbol that African wealth could finally serve African people. And symbolism is dangerous, because once people see freedom is possible, no empire can contain it. Of course, America did not stay silent. Diplomatic pressure increased. Western media painted Traoré as a dictator, a populist, a Russian puppet. But the people were not fooled. They saw through the headlines. They saw what was at stake: their dignity, their independence, their future. And so, the tighter America squeezed, the more Burkina Faso slipped from its grasp.